quite a significant moment, this trip. Let me show you why. So first of all, we'll start with the kind of big picture. Just how much are we trading with China? This is imports from China. That's exports to China. You can see one is far bigger than the other. And that is why we have a big trade deficit with China. We're not sending half as much stuff over to China than they are to us, literally, in this case. But that's goods, that's physical stuff. Now, what about services? And here, actually, the UK has a bit of a comparative advantage. We sell far more in the way of services to China than China does to the UK. And that perhaps is what explains why Rachel Reeves is focusing on financial services. She's bringing some bankers out on the plane with her. Not journalists, it must be said. They didn't want to bring us along with them. But let's just compare this. So that's exports to China with other countries around the world. OK, so we'll put it in the ranking of different countries we export to. There's China, the sixth biggest export destination between France and Belgium. So certainly not nothing. But it is very small in comparison with the US. And a lot of people would say, listen, this is the relationship you really want to focus on. Do you want this one to compromise that one, particularly given who's coming into the White House? But we'll have to wait and see. Worth just saying as well, in the US, that relationship has shifted. It's shifted a lot since the last few times the UK went on these trips to China. The US now has high tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles. So does Canada. India too, Turkey. The EU has high tariffs, not as high, but certainly extra tariffs. In fact, the only developed country, aside from Japan, which doesn't tend to buy much in the way of cars from China, that doesn't have extra tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles is the UK. It's a really significant outlier there, shifting towards China rather than away from them. And that matters because you're seeing the number of cars coming in from China rising. This is the ranking of car imports into the UK by different nations. You can see China down there, relatively low back in 2014. Now fast forward to 2024 and look at that bar going up. It's now the second biggest source of our cars in the UK, China. And that bar is likely to get even higher in the next few years. Why do we know that? Because look at factory capacity. Look at how many cars are being turned out of factories in China versus Europe, North America and Japan. And crucially, look at how much room they have to grow. So this is showing you factory capacity that exists within these areas that hasn't yet been taken up. So basically you could see these bars grow even faster. And right now, there is no other country in the world that is quite as an attractive place to sell your cars, if you're in China, than the UK, because we just don't have those tariffs. All of which says this is going to be a very interesting trip indeed.